Welcome back to the Resolution Room, where we turn tension into transformation through clarity, connection, and consistency. I'm your host, Dr. Nashay Lowe, and this is a space where we explore what's really underneath the moments that challenge us and how they can lead to something more honest, more human, and more whole. So let's get into it. In this episode, I want to explore 3 ideas that are deeply connected, even if they don't always feel that way in real time. First, the myth of perfect timing. How waiting for things to feel settled or certain often keeps us stuck longer than necessary. Second, the idea of scars becoming beauty marks. How the very experiences we try to move past or minimize are often the ones shaping our depth, perspective, and leadership. And third, what travel has taught me about perspective, about how quickly our assumptions loosen when we step outside what's familiar. We'll start with why there is no perfect moments to begin, only moments we choose to step into. Then I'll share how some of the experience I once viewed as setbacks or wounds become sources of clarity and strength. And finally, I'll reflect on how traveling across cultures changed how I see conflict, difference, and growth. Not as problems to fix, but as invitations to see more clearly. Together, these ideas point to one truth for me. Growth doesn't arrive polished, it arrives lived. So here we go. There is no perfect time. There's a quiet myth many of us carry, that one day conditions will align just enough for us to begin. More clarity, more confidence, more money, more certainty. We tell ourselves we're being responsible, thoughtful, and strategic. But often what we're really doing is waiting for permission that never comes. As a fellow perfectionist, today I want to talk about why there is no perfect time and why most meaningful things in our lives begin despite uncertainty, not after it. Segment 1. Readiness is a story that we tell ourselves. In my work, I've met brilliant people who were, quote unquote, almost ready for years. They had the skills, they had the ideas, they had the drive. What they didn't have was the illusion of safety that they were waiting for. Because here's the thing, readiness is rarely a feeling. It's a decision we make after we start moving. I can attest that no major shift in my life came from perfect timing. They came with risk. They definitely came with doubt. And they came with a sense of, I don't know exactly how this will unfold, but I can't ignore it anymore. Growth doesn't wait for comfort. It responds to commitment. Segment 2. The cost of waiting too long. Waiting feels harmless, but it does have a cost. The longer we wait, the more we normalize postponing ourselves. We get good at living adjacent to our dreams instead of living inside them. And over time, the dream doesn't disappear. It gets quieter, heavier, and more complicated. What I've learned is this. In the end, most people don't regret trying and failing. They regret never giving themselves the chance to try it all. Segment 3. Starting messy is still starting. There's something deeply humbling about beginning before you feel ready. You don't have the language yet. You don't have the systems yet. You don't have the confidence yet. But what you do have is momentum. And momentum teaches you things that preparation never can. Every meaningful path I've taken required learning in motion, adjusting while moving, and refining while building. There was no clean starting line, only a decision to begin anyway. If you're waiting for that perfect moment, I'll leave you with this. The moment doesn't arrive to invite you. You arrive to claim it. Start where you are, with what you have, and just as you are. From scars to beauty marks. We're taught to hide our scars. The emotional ones, the professional ones, the personal ones. We smooth them over in bios and conversations. We minimize them in interviews and introductions. But scars don't mean damage. They mean healing happened. Segment 1. Scars are evidence of survival. Every scar tells a story of something that didn't end you, something you moved through, something that changed you. And yet we're conditioned to see scars as liabilities, proof that we're flawed or fragile. But in reality, scars are evidence of adaptation, of growth under pressure. They mark where life asked more of you, and you responded. Segment 2. Where pain becomes insight. Over time, scars can become sources of wisdom. They sharpen your discernment, they deepen your empathy, and they change how you show up for others. Some of the most effective leaders, facilitators, and healers I've met weren't untouched by hardship. They were shaped by it. They didn't lead despite their scars. They led because of them. Segment 3. Reframing the narrative. When you stop hiding your scars, something powerful happens. They stop defining you and start informing you. You don't have to lead with your wounds, but you don't have to pretend they didn't happen either. When scars become beauty marks, they don't disappear, they integrate. They become part of the story that makes you credible, grounded, and real. You are not behind because you were hurt. You are not broken because you carry marks of survival. Your scars don't disqualify you, they refine you. What traveling taught me about perspective. Traveling is often framed as escape, maybe a break, or even a luxury. But for me, travel was never about leaving something behind. It was about learning how much of myself was shaped by where I stood. Travel changed the way I see people, power, conflict, and possibility. And it changed the way I understand my own place in the world. Segment 1. Perspective is location dependent. When you live in one place long enough, the world begins to feel fixed. You assume your way of communicating is normal, your values are universal, and your systems make sense. Travel disrupts that illusion. Forcefully. Suddenly, what feels obvious becomes contextual. What feels right becomes cultural. And what feels permanent becomes flexible. I learned quickly that intelligence, care, and leadership don't look the same everywhere. And that difference isn't a threat, it's information. Segment 2. Listening across difference. Travel taught me how to listen without translating everything back to myself. When you're the outsider, you learn humility. You learn to observe before you judge, and you learn that understanding requires patience. Some of the most meaningful lessons came not from landmarks or lectures, but from conversations with strangers, with hosts, with people whose lives were shaped by entirely different forces than mine. Travel expanded my empathy, not because it made me sentimental per se, but because it made me curious. Segment 3. Bringing the world home with you. The real impact of travel isn't what you see. It's what you carry back. You return changed, maybe a little less rigid, more aware, and more capable of holding complexity. Travel taught me that conflict is rarely about right and wrong. It's about context, history, and unmet needs. And that insight doesn't stay abroad. It followed me into my work, my relationships, and my leadership. Travel doesn't just broaden your worldview, it deepens your responsibility. Once you see how many ways people live, believe, and survive, you can't unsee it. And that awareness stays with you. As always, thank you for joining me in the Resolution Room. If this conversation moved you, challenged you, or gave you something to carry forward, consider supporting the show. You can explore our wearable wisdom collection in our Mind Shop, where each piece is designed to spark reflection and dialogue. You can also join our growing community for behind-the-scenes conversations, resources, and support of your own journey through tension and transformation. And if you just want to say thank you in a simple way, you can always buy me a coffee. Every gesture helps keep the space going. All the links are in the show notes. And until next time, keep building in the quiet because that's what will carry you forward.